the first thing you need to do is dive in and understand the industry and understand how you're going to be creating work, generating content, how you're going to be using it as an income stream. Like Katie said, do not quit your full-time job and just like dive into licensing without having some licenses in order, because it is the slowest revenue stream.
Hey there, I'm Marda Leon, and my mission is to help creatives like you translate what you love to do into a highly profitable income. I'm a mom of 3 who began as a lettering artist and grew it into a 6-figure business. If I made it possible, so can you. Every week, we'll dive deep into topics like building your confidence, getting comfortable talking about money, and nurturing your passion while juggling life and family. So if you're an ambitious creative who wants to craft the life you love, get cozy, feel at home, and listen to the Confident Creator Show. Katie and Ilana are hand lettering artists who met after sliding into each other's DMs. The two have yet to meet in person, but their paths are incredibly similar. They both graduated from design school and went on to become art directors who wanted more control of their schedule and creativity. And years later, they each own their own successful art businesses and are passionate about sharing their knowledge through Loomier, the ultimate resource for artists who mean business, so that other artists can do the same. And the big difference between them, well, I'm going to let them share it with us a bit later, but here they are, Katie and Ilana. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Thank you for having us.
No, thank you. The honor is mine. So thank you for allowing me to occupy your time today. And funny how we all seem to know each other online, but only really got connected a few months ago. Is it a few months ago? But
yeah,
it seems weird and cool at the same time, right?
You know,
I love the internet.
I think that your book was the first lettering book that I ever got. And I think you were one of the first lettering artists that I knew who really inspired my journey to start lettering. Like, for sure. I mean, I just remember seeing your book when I first started and thinking, this is so cool. How do I do all this? And I came from a traditional background. So to be able to see someone in my space doing what I wanted to be doing was, at the time, like so mind blowing.
Wow, thank you so much. I did not know that the book had that impact, but I'm honored to hear that from you.
Aww.
Oh, wow, that was sweet.
I can't believe it's been so many. How many years has it been since your book came out?
It was October 2017, so it's been almost 4 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was really like, I was a pretty newbie at lettering back then.
Wow. I didn't know about that. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. And now you are on the show. So thank you so much for being here and sharing that story with us.
Okay. You're welcome. We're excited to be here.
Yes, me too. So before we talk about what it is that you do in your business together, and I'm excited about it, I'd like to know a bit more about how you two got together and formed Loomier, and of course, the major difference between the two of you, like I said earlier in the intro. And I think people would want to know that. So tell us a bit about your story.
Katie, you want to tell everyone how we found each other?
I sure do. So I was thinking about doing an art licensing class because I'd kind of stumbled into art licensing and designing for greeting cards, and was realizing that that was a space that most letterers, at least, and a lot of artists didn't know existed. So I was like, oh, this is a really cool thing that I can teach. And then I put in my stories, my Instagram stories, that I was thinking about doing a class. And then Ilana DM'd me and she was like, oh, that's so funny. I was thinking of doing a class too. And my initial reaction was like, oh, dang it. There's like somebody else who has this idea. Like, I've got to just throw in the towel. It's all over. And then I took a step back and was like, oh, I've been preaching like community over competition. And I've been talking about like collaborations and things like that. So I was like, let me change my mindset. Let me take a step back. And then I messaged her and I said, what if we did it together? Which was like a big leap too, because that was like our first introduction. So we didn't know each other, but we ended up doing a class together. We had like a exploratory call that went really well. I don't know if you remember that. It's been a while, Ilana, but
yeah,
I remember like after I hopped off, I was like telling my husband, I found the most amazing girl.
And for me, when I had wrote Katie, I felt the same things, but I was going to do like a class on Skillshare because I had a couple classes up there and it was more of like I'm just going to try putting a class together. Like, I think Katie had a little more thought into it at that point. And so when we talked, it was really clear that we both came from we came from similar paths, but we had really different approaches to how we would teach this information. And so it turned into a whole business. About a year after our class launched, we were like, let's do another project. I guess we're going to start a business together. And so then the pandemic happened, obviously, and we haven't been able to meet in person. So that has been, obviously we talk online pretty much every day, but that's been so amazing and crazy to like build a business together all via the digital space. Mm-hmm. It's been really cool. We've definitely learned a lot and it's been so much fun. So we're really excited. Basically what we do is help other artists make money from their art and give them the tools and resources to feel confident with pricing, with different revenue streams. And we're having fun doing it, which is, I think, the most important thing.
Yes, it is. So did you build a business during the pandemic or pre-pandemic? During the pandemic. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
While a lot of other people
in smack dab in the middle.
Wow.
Yeah. We had our course launched the year before. And then we had I think in January, we probably had the conversation where we were like, okay, I think this might be a business. And then I think in March, we were going to make it official. And then the pandemic hit and we were like, okay, I guess we're still doing this. We were like, we'll see what happens. And then, here we are now.
That was a test of resilience, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Everybody else was about to give up back then. Everybody else were not trying different things. They're, closing doors, opportunities. They're not grabbing all the opportunities because they're afraid of the unknown. And you two really dive into it and really just move forward, no matter what happens.
Yeah.
We're going to move forward.
I think part of it, did we lose Katie?
I think so. Yes, we did. But
oh, no. You know what? I'll keep talking and she'll pop back in, I think. Is that okay?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay.
I'm just going to admit her.
Okay. So I think part of it was a great challenge because we knew that more people now than ever would need what we were talking about because people would be losing their jobs. So we saw that opportunity, but then we also thought it's really important to us, especially now, to keep our pricing for anything we offer that's paid. One of our core values is to offer things that are approachable and tangible. Art should be accessible to everyone. But I think the other thing was that we really wanted it to be accessible to people who do lose their jobs and do realize that they needed more income. And so we wanted something where we could, obviously we need to get paid, but we also wanted it to be that people wouldn't have to think too hard or give up something in order to take our courses and things like that. So it was like a balance between launching a business that has paid services that isn't essential, but that also could be really, really helpful to people during a time where we know things were really tough. We even offered scholarships and such during the time, but it was definitely a conscious decision to keep our courses at a certain price point.
Wow, that's fantastic. You have offered a couple of different, stuff to help people who are right in the middle of that adjustment period. And it's really amazing for creatives to do that while in fact they're still building their own business. And I know for a fact that a lot of business owners who have successfully done it have been doing that. But for those who are starting, it was great to hear that even while you are building the business, you are also helping other people. That's really interesting. And it's
been fun. I try and share the behind the scenes of what we're doing as we're doing it. But I find that to be a really challenging part of it is to share the vulnerable part behind the scenes of, we just did this, or we sent the email before spell checking or something like that. But I think sharing some of that is really helpful to people who are alongside their own journey.
Yes, it's true. And I know that you have quite established your business in the world of licensing already. And I know so many creatives wanted to dabble into it. I know for one that I wanted to do it before, but a lot of people are still confused what it is or how it works. So could you share with us? Is it okay if you share with us what licensing is really all about? Give us more info about it.
Absolutely. So the kind of premise of licensing is that you rent your artwork. So when you make something, you own the copyright and you can allow someone to rent it to use on their products. So basically, Katie and I had our own greeting card lines. We had lines on Etsy. We both still have Etsy shops. We just don't put as much energy into them. And we loved having our work on products like greeting cards or notepads or notebooks. But we really didn't love how much time we ended up spending on shipping and printing and manufacturing and all of the things that come with being a product based business, which those things are not bad. They just, for both of us, were not a great use of our personal time because they drained us instead of like getting us excited. And so we thought about, how else can we make money? And honestly, what happened is both Katie and I had projects or people that came to us and said, we want to license some of your work. And we immediately both started Googling what on earth is art licensing. So again, it's basically when someone rents your artwork and puts it on their products. Instead of you putting it on your own products, someone else is in charge of the manufacturing, the shipping, the selling, the getting it in stores. And that has led us to see our work in stores like TJ Maxx, I don't know if you have these stores, TJ Maxx, Home Goods,
I'm familiar.
Michael's stores, Target. Do you guys have Target?
We don't, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh.
We have, what
it's
do
so
we have?
Good.
We have Crate and Barrel.
Okay.
At least we have that.
Okay, great. Yeah. So seeing it on stores where thousands of people shop every day, and it became a revenue stream that we felt really excited about. While we still had our own work on our own products, it just was another way. It's like another way of making money from your art. And if you can work smarter and repurpose your artwork in more ways, instead of feeling like you have to churn out 1,000 pieces every week or whatever it is, if you can repurpose what you're doing and just give it a new spin, how much headspace and free time does that leave you to focus on other things like your family, your mental health, yourself, other passion projects? And so we totally dove into art licensing because, like I said, we had to Google what it was and what it meant. And we realized if we had to Google it, then other people like us probably also had to Google it. And we really saw, as hand letterers, we saw that there wasn't a lot of really good lettering out in this world. And so we were like, maybe other people should join in.
Exactly.
So that really lit the fire for us wanting to tell other people about it.
What? And talking about working smart. I know for one that I didn't want to turn in a lot of work week after week after week because I have a child with special needs. So that actually became my leverage to charge more. That for me was the effect of the time constraint. And in your case, you leveraged licensing to do that and to be able to achieve whatever it is that you wanted to achieve and to do a lot of things and save a lot of time working and instead make your art work for you instead.
Yes. And I think this is I think Katie actually is the one who made this mindset shift for me. And now I've seen it a little bit more, but just because something was easy to do doesn't mean it's not worth a lot of money. And just because you spent time on it, it's not an equal.
Yes,
this amount of time is not traded for money. And Katie, I don't know if you remember how you said it to me, but you said it in the most eloquent way that I was like, oh,
sounds like me.
But for me, I wrote my book when my son was born, and I was nursing in one hand, typing on the other. I was a total lunatic. And I quickly realized my priorities were different, even though I still feel really passionate about work. I know that I don't want to work 9 to 5 every single day. I want to work because I love it, but I don't want to I don't want my life to be controlled by my work. So if I can work smarter, and I'm not saying like, I'm sure there are people who are like, but like, if you're working 1 hour a day, like, you don't deserve let's say $10,000. I don't know why I picked such a big number, but it took me years to learn that, or it takes a lot of skill to do those things. Just like we would say with a surgeon or with like any profession, it's a learned gift and there's value that is not just time.
Yes. Yes. And I agree with that. What do you think, Katie?
I totally agree. Sorry, my cat's going rampant on my desk. I was trying to play it cool like it wasn't happening. I think that's really been a big evolution in how I've thought about pricing over the years. Like I definitely did not think that way coming out of school, which I wish that there was more. I mean, not everybody doesn't have to go to art school, obviously, to be in this space. But I felt like completely unprepared for so much of this stuff when I came out of school. Like I could do all the design stuff. That was great. But yeah, it was like a whole new world to come into running a business for myself. So that's been a whole thing in and of itself.
Yes.
Yeah. You asked me a question about my personal brand. I don't even remember what it was, but that's what Katie just said is exactly why I think both of us, and me especially, felt this way coming out of college and starting a business. That stuff was a little bit overwhelming, but it didn't scare me. And I think one of the biggest things with entrepreneurs, creative entrepreneurs, artists, is that we aren't raised or taught in school or anywhere really that like all of the things that actually keep a business running. We're taught to be really great at our craft, but we're not taught how to actually run a business. Obviously, now there are tons of online courses, and if you're passionate enough, you can find the things that will teach you, but it didn't scare me. I got excited about, okay, I have to figure this out. And then I had parents who were entrepreneurs. And so I was like, if it was just written in a way that was more digestible or like made a little bit more sense, then other people would be excited about this too. I would watch people tell me about their passions and I'd be like, well, why aren't you just like, come on, why aren't you doing a business about it? Like, and they're like, well, it's too scary, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, maybe I can help them make it feel less scary. And that's why I wrote my book. And then that really paralleled everything that Katie felt and has done in her career as well. And so after we did the licensing course, we realized there was like a much bigger picture that both of us really wanted people to feel empowered to actually make a full-time living from their art and like tackle those things that are a little bit scary or a little bit overwhelming. It's just like taking a deep breath and breaking it down in ways that are a little bit more accessible and tangible. And so hopefully that's what we can do for people, whether it's like on a YouTube video or on a podcast or like just by like sitting down and having a conversation about taxes and LLCs and charging how the right way for their skill level and, years, I guess.
Yeah.
I think people are really surprised to what business really is because I think there's like a stigma where it's polarized, where you're either an artist and a creative or you're like a logic brained person who can handle like math and business and all that stuff. But that's really not how it is. Like there's so much bleed over between both sides. And I think once we've worked with like students and really explained how some of their creative passions really apply to business, it's like a light bulb moment for them. And then they do get excited because it's like a gateway into, they're like, oh, wait, this is part of business. Like this strategic marketing stuff is part of business. That's really cool. I really like that. Or, there's just so many things that I think business is just like this looming, scary thing. But once you start chipping away and learning what it actually means and what the day-to-day looks like, you might find something that you really, really love and enjoy that is creative within running a business.
Yes.
I think it's cool that we're going through all of that again. Obviously, we've done that for our personal brands and for our freelance work as working artists and lettering artists, but we're doing that again now as we started working together. And so we're learning more because obviously things are different than they were, let's say, 10 years ago. And I'm just like trying to figure out in my head how many years ago we graduated college, but it's fine. Math is hard.
Don't add me in that.
But we're doing it. Yeah. We're doing it again because we're doing a different type of business. Now, we're digital. We're not doing things with people in person necessarily, at least not right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're learning it all again. And so it's fun to go through it at the same time our students are going through it too, because we're building a new business. And so we've done it once, we can do it again, but now we're learning so much more along the way, especially when it comes to digital marketing. And that's been really cool. Like there is so much to learn, and it's really, you have to be so passionate that you're willing to learn. But like Katie said, when you can connect the ikigai, Katie can explain what that is. But when you like overlap your passion and the thing that people want,
oh, the ikigai,
and you find that sweet. Yeah, exactly. Then you can like really get fired up and get inspired and like make so much happen.
True.
Yeah,
that is
absolutely.
so true. And you mentioned earlier that not a lot of more people are scared when they think about business and all of that. And as creatives, we're always scared of getting into the business side of things because we think that we might do something wrong. We might not be marketing correctly, or we might not be charging right. But as we keep dabbling into this side of the world, little by little, you'll get familiar with how it actually works. And the more that you do it, the more that you are able to open your eyes and get aware of everything that you have already been doing are actually part of marketing already.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think too, it's important for people to remember they don't have to do everything by themselves. It makes it a lot less intimidating when you kind of think about, okay, what parts of this like actually do I suck at? Like, honestly, like I'm going to suck at the accounting stuff. Okay, then I'm going to hire an accountant, and that's where I'm going to really invest my extra money that I bring in with my business in the first couple years or whatever. Or, maybe I need to bring in a partner and my business might look differently than I originally thought. Like there's more options if you are intimidated by being solo. You don't have to be.
Yes, you don't have to do it all. And sometimes you don't even, actually, you don't have to spend a lot of money getting people to help you. Sometimes you can just grab your husband. I like what I do.
Right?
So
right. We have a grand scheme where all of our families come and work for us. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
I think, I remember when I was shipping planners and I had friends come over and I would buy them pizza in exchange for them shipping like 20 planners and things like that. But I think also some of it is learning what you're bad at. And so you might actually find the accounting really easy, or you might like really want to pull your hair out. And I think there's always this barrier of like, well, I can do it myself and struggle through it, or I can pay someone $300, let's say $300. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure why now looking back, that's such a barrier that was for me, because that has saved me, hours and hours and hours of my valuable time. And so now we're actually in a similar situation now where we're ready to outsource something on our back end. But I think it's really important that we also learn how to do it enough, not that we're good at it, but learn what it takes to do it so that we know why it's valuable for us to outsource it. So like with the accounting, like figure out why it needs to take so long and why it needs to be done right and why it's so important, so that you can say to someone, I know that you're better at this, so I want to pass this off to you and I'm going to pay you because I know how much time it's going to save me and energy it's going to save me. And then I can put that energy back into something more important that only I can do, like staying in your zone of genius.
Yes, exactly. And I think the other thing that makes people afraid of delegating tasks is because it entails money, right? I know because I worried about that. So what I did was, and it's funny because when I hired my first assistant who actually looks after my inbox, so my inbox is now a 20K. When I gave it to her, it was a 20K. And she's like, oh my goodness, why did you just hire me now? And I was like, no, I'm just looking at the important stuff daily. And then I just keep the rest wherever they go. And I don't have any way to monitor if I miss emails. So sometimes emails, important emails can slip through the cracks. But when I hired her, I was like, yes, she's expensive, but worth it.com. Because the money that I have been paying her, I had to make it. Right. I had to make it to secure the payment that I have to give her. Otherwise, if I don't hire her, I'm not going to be worried about that money. Because I know I'm not going to be having somebody to pay for. But when you have a person that you pay the salary for or, hire because for their services, then you will have this obligation to provide that money and you will find where you can get it from. And funny how our mind works, our brain works. When we have those expenses, we find ways to make more money. That's how it always worked for me.
Exactly. We always figure out a way, whether it's going and getting a full-time job or going and getting a side hustle job or whatever it is, like you'll figure it out, but you won't know unless you try.
Yeah.
And I think what my dad always said was do your best and delegate the rest. So just like do what you can do best and like let other people help you with the things that they're good at. Like give someone the opportunity to do what they're meant to be doing, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
but it is scary because you give up control.
Yes, delegating those tasks would mean that you can focus on your zone of genius. You could do a lot more to help your clients, your business, and everyone else. So it's not just yourself you're helping. It's a lot of people, the person who you hired your clients, your students, and whoever it is have access to you. Like your children usually will love you because you're going to have more time for them.
Right. So with your email, I mean, I bet by missing some emails, you were missing out on job opportunities.
Yes.
So you were literally missing out on money because you weren't responding fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of my pet peeves. It's like not responding in a timely manner or leaving something unread or like missing out on something because I didn't check it. And I think the fear of missing out is we all feel that a lot. And so if you can avoid that by just having someone help you with, even if it's just your inbox, like you don't have to worry about that anymore. And that saves you so much headspace of freaking out about missing or like forgetting to do something on time. I'm all about it.
There's small ways too that you can invest in your business in the beginning when you're like, just every penny is precious. And I know how that feels. And I still feel that way. I just have more experience now with like knowing that my investment is usually returned, but you have to do that a couple of times before you get confident. But like in the beginning with shipping, for example, I like refused to get a label printer. I was like, I'll just print it all, cut it out, tape it onto each piece of mail. And then it took me like probably 3-4 times the amount of time that when I eventually made the investment in a freaking label printer, I was like, why did I not do this like $100 thing? Like, I feel so stupid, but I mean, I understand why I had that barrier. But once I kept doing that a couple times in my business and kept like resisting something and then finally giving in and being like, oh my gosh, that freed up so much of my headspace, so much more time. Now I can spend more time doing something else. The more you practice that, the more you'll get comfortable and see like, oh, I put money into this in a smart way. Like I think about it before I do it and make sure it's a pretty good risk to take. Once you do that and you see it comes back, that'll help.
Yes.
I think you were saying you can do it small. So small would be like using QuickBooks or using a free accounting service instead of working with an accountant. Mm-hmm. Those are really good ones. There's so many free apps out there, or even getting an email, like a CRM system that you pay for, like that could be $5-10 a month, but it saves you a ton. It helps you stay organized. So I love what Katie said about the label printer, because I used to think, okay, it's $100. How many orders do I need to get? Extra orders do I need to get to make that money back? Okay, actually, how many orders could I be like generating if I saved all the 4 times more that it's taking you to hand do them all? I could spend all that time trying to get more sales or trying to like build more products for my brand or whatever it is. Like, it's not just the monetary value. It's the actual time. It's the energy. It's the like every single piece of the puzzle that goes into it. So I think, yeah, just starting small, like $100 to invest in yourself is such a great way to put back into your business.
Yeah. And my business coach actually told this last week. Was it last week? I don't know. But he told us, if you're not spending money, you're spending time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it. So that is what it's like, oh my goodness. It's kind of like a wake up call sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to forget that I still need to invest. Hiring people, even if it's just contractors, not really people who has to come in the business month after month. Sometimes you can just hire contractors to do stuff for you on an irregular basis. And I think the other thing that we are so scared of letting go is control. I know, because that's me. I like to micromanage things. So even when I delegated the inbox to someone else, she's like, why are you in the inbox? I'm seeing stuff in here that you have moved. And I was like, because I still have access to it. So move on back to your inbox. She created a different email address for me and like, you stay there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to forward everything that needs your attention, but everything else, leave it to me, leave it alone. Don't come in here. Don't ever get to this inbox from now on.
Don't touch my inbox.
Yeah, don't touch my inbox. You have your own inbox now. And I was so relieved the first day I had my inbox, and it was like 0. And wow, this is how it feels like, because I used to have a day job, and in my day job before, I cannot afford to miss a single email. So I'm always inbox 0 by 10 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah, by 10 a.m. So the first thing I learned is check emails in the morning, which now has shifted because we're in the business. Checking emails in the morning is a big no. For me, at least for me. Because if I focus on the emails, I'm going to focus on replying to people. And I will end up like replying to emails the whole day. So I now have, my coach actually gave me that. Don't check emails first thing in the morning. Focus on income generating stuff first thing in the morning. So that's what I did.
That's a hard one for me. I check emails first thing, but I think it's a really important reminder, and it's something that I often forget, especially because I check my phone a million times a day. I'm like, someone's going to need me. Like my parents are going to need me. My son, he's in the room with me. I don't know why I would need my phone. But I think because I have to remember that nothing I'm doing is an emergency. I know that people expect a quick reply, but a quick reply doesn't need to be within 5 minutes. It doesn't need to be within 10 minutes. And so I have to remind myself. And that was one of the reasons I shifted away from doing a ton of client work. I used to do almost only client work, was because I would carry the weight of that work as if it was an emergency. And it's graphic design. I'm not a surgeon or like a nurse or something where I'm literally saving lives. I'm a graphic designer. Okay. It's not an emergency. As long as I'm meeting my deadlines and replying in a timely manner, it's not an emergency. And even like on Etsy, there's a lot of customers on Etsy that think that because it's Etsy, each shop must have a team of 100 people replying immediately. And even if it's them and they're pissed off, like, it's not an emergency. Okay. And so that is still a mindset I have to remind myself all the time, is like, put your phone down, put the emails away. It's not an emergency. And if it is, they can call me and I can call them within a couple of minutes. I'll know something is up.
Yeah. So do you still focus on doing a lot of client work these days? This is a question for both of you. Do you still have your own set of clients, or do you just focus on the licensing? You have clients for your business and then you have licensing for Loomier. How does it work for both of you?
We have lots of different income streams for our own businesses, which is something that we teach through Loomier, because we really believe in having multiple income streams.
Yes.
So that you're never like totally strung out and stuck when one of them isn't working. So for both of us, I think we still have product shops that aren't like being attended to as much as we used to. But we still have them. We have art licensing, which we focus on a lot more than I think we used to. And then we both do freelance work. So we take on like maybe 1 to 2 clients a month, I think, both of us. Is that right, Ilana? Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Are you back?
And Ilana has book royalties. Oh, did I cut out? Dang.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Ilana has book royalties. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And what else do we have?
Well, and when we have Loomier.
Online,
so,
we have online education.
So this sounds like a ton, but I think so I did a TikTok the other day about this and someone was like, this sounds like an MLM. And I was like, what? So I think why it's confusing is because there's so many pieces of the puzzle. But the thing is, the work we create for our product shop is also work we use for art licensing.
Mm-hmm.
And both of those are things that we talk about in Loomier. So Loomier is basically us talking about running a business. So it's talking about everything we do as business owners. Our freelance project is a commission. When someone seeks us out or we connect with someone and they say, we love your lettering style. We want a cover of our magazine, or we want to like license some of your work, but we need it custom. So we'll just pay you a flat rate. So it's all the same type of work. It's just different ways of getting paid. So our product shop is direct to consumers or wholesale. And then our freelance work is more one-on-one. It's like not the same repeatable system. And then art licensing is like another layer of a product shop. So it's not like we're doing 6 different types of work all the time. It's like we're doing the same type of work all the time. We're just, again, getting paid in different ways for it, which I think is why to us it doesn't feel so all over. And I think we've both put boundaries on our freelance work so that we're only taking on projects that we're actually like really excited about, whether we're passionate about the brand or we're passionate about the project itself. We try and be really picky about it. And if it's not the right project for us, we will recommend someone within our community that would be a good fit for it. So, over time, we've gotten pickier about what projects we work on, but we also still do have multiple income streams, and we really stress having them because, as we've all seen in 2020, if you have it like a retail store, or if you sell mostly products and sales plummet because people are losing their job, you need something else to rely on. And like Katie said, we don't really tend to our Etsy shops right now or our online stores because it's just not where our energy is focused, but they're still there.
Yeah,
if we decide we want to use energy
teacher for everybody. It was such a great teacher that year. So you have mentioned about multiple income streams. So how does one know if I am a creative who wanted to approach you? How does one know if licensing is a right fit for them?
Katie, do you want to?
I'm scared to talk because I feel like I'm gonna glitch out.
Okay. That's fine. I'll take it. I was just curious. So I think first of all, we do offer free training about what the industry is. And I think that's the first thing, is figuring out what does licensing really mean. And I think the reason I would say make sure you understand the industry first is because what happens is people are like, oh, I really want to make passive income. Let me do art licensing. But then they don't realize where their work would do well. And I think this is what happened to me at the beginning. I knew I wanted to do art licensing because I had done one project, but I didn't quite have a grasp on how my work would translate. So I would say the first thing is like understand the industry and figure out what type of products would your work do well on, and then start making a list of those products and those companies, and then make sure you have a licensing portfolio that you could then send to them and say, I'd love to work with you. Here's why. And I think people often try and like jump to step 3 instead of starting at step 1. But if you don't know where your work is going to do well, then you'll end up being way too spread thin. And then people probably won't want to work with you because they won't have a handle on what your style is. So, people will say, oh, I want to do art licensing, but my work doesn't work well on greeting cards. And it's like, well, then you shouldn't focus on greeting cards. You should focus on, let's say, fabric. So if you want to focus on fabric, go to the fabric stores and look at what type of fabric does well. Should you be doing collections? Should you be doing seasonal things? And then, go from there. We had someone recently, which I thought was a great question. They said, I do watercolor florals. Like, that is my thing. Am I diverse enough to do licensing? And we were like, absolutely, you just need to look for brands that will work well with your type of work, which sure, you could do greeting cards, but probably you're going to do much better on home decor or fabric or other stationery items that are not greeting cards, because greeting cards usually have text on them. And so it's really like figuring out where does your work shine and then making sure your portfolio is set up. And that's why we do a course all about what the licensing industry is like, because your portfolio needs to look really different. It's all ready to go pieces instead of work that you've done for past clients. And I think that would be the first thing. It's probably right for you. If you're a creative that makes things and you would see it on a product somewhere, even if you have your own product line, as long as it's a product that isn't like, I'm trying to think of a product that would be a bad fit, but I'm struggling to come up with anything that, you know, you can see licensing on ceramics.
Yeah, there's always something.
Yeah. So I would say most artists can tap into licensing. It's about finding the right people to work with. It's not about working with thousands of different brands. It's about finding the right collaborations and the right products for your work.
All right. So given that you have both done licensing successfully, do you think that an artist or somebody creative can make a sustainable income or business with art licensing?
Yes, but like we said about the multiple income streams, we like it as one piece of the pie because there's no guaranteed sale. It's just like running a product shop. You don't know how much is going to sell. And so you don't know how much is going to sell if you're working with a license too. And so having, whether it's your own product line or book royalties or teaching online or whatever it may be, we think it's a great asset in addition to it. Of course, the more time you put into it and the more pieces you make, the more chances you have for your work to be licensed. And the more outreach and the more research and the more connecting with other people to share your work with, the better off you'll be. But that piece of the pie really scares some people, the like outreach and getting their work out there. And so having something that you can control is the wrong word, but like manage a little bit easier, where like you have more of an inside scoop than if you have that on top of licensing. You can absolutely, we're into squashing the starving artist stereotype. We're over that. That's not working for us.
Yeah, I wouldn't generally recommend somebody leave their day job with no licensing experience and no portfolio and just start licensing and expecting it to be their full-time income. Like, I think that that's not a realistic expectation because, like Ilana said, it takes a while to get used to or build up your portfolio, get used to the industry, start to meet people, start to make relationships. So I think starting with building your portfolio in ways where you can, the word we love is double dip. We talked about that a little bit earlier, but if you're like working on your freelance portfolio and there's an unused concept and you can store that away for art licensing, and you can slowly start to build that up and slowly start to make a licensing deal over here and one over here. And then that kind of snowballs into what can then become a more sustainable income, maybe a couple years down the road. But you do have to put a lot of time and energy into licensing gigs. It's just that the more your portfolio grows, the less work you have to do.
Yes.
Right. And I think
it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, go ahead.
It doesn't happen overnight. Right.
No,
I would say
licensing is like the biggest example of it doesn't happen overnight out of any of the income streams.
Licensing is the slowest income stream, which can be a really great thing if you're maybe a slower artist, or it can be a great thing if you're it can work for you no matter what. But I think one of the biggest things is it doesn't happen overnight. And I forgot my other one.
That happens.
I forgot it.
Don't worry, we're going to come back to that.
In a second.
That is for sure.
It's going to come back.
It's going to come back. Now, while we're waiting for that to come back,
I got it.
Yeah,
I did think of it.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think one of the questions we get is like, can you license your existing portfolio? And that's how Katie started. Is she was making her own greeting cards for Etsy, and someone was like, tell me if I'm wrong, Katie, but someone was like, hey, we love your work. Can we license some of your work? Or can you make work for us to license? So don't be afraid to like hold your favorite things hostage. Like put them out there, put them in your Etsy shop or your online shop or whatever it is, manufacture them, see if people like them. Someone might see them and say, we like this, but can we start selling it instead? Or can you keep it in your shop and then we want to sell it too? Or can you make us a similar version?
Yeah, so that's a great piece of advice, is to either use your product shop, or pro tip is when you're doing like freelance work, you want to have a licensing agreement with that too. So you can say, hey, I'm going to make this custom piece for you that you asked for. But if it's like generic enough to be like if it's Merry Christmas or something, and then it's got the brand on it, you could license the Merry Christmas to them and say, hey, you can have this. I made it for you. You can have this for 2 years and you can use it in North America. And then they only have that piece for that amount of time. So then you can come back 2 years later or in a different space during that time. Like you could license it to a different country even, and use that same piece of art again to make money separately. So even when you're doing custom freelance work, you can use licensing as a tool to keep things at your disposal in your portfolio and keep ownership of it, which is something that we're really passionate about, is keeping ownership as much as possible, and only doing like a full buyout or selling the copyright when you really raise the rates and they're really paying for it.
Yes. And it's not trading time for money.
Yes,
exactly.
Your artwork keeps working for you.
Right. The other thing with working on freelance work, how you can double dip there, is that if you have unused concept, Katie mentioned this before, but if you have an unused concept, make sure your contract says that unused concepts can revert back to you. Mm-hmm. So then you could flush out that concept and turn it into a greeting card or turn it into something for licensing. And then boom, double dip, you get paid for that piece that they didn't want, but it's still yours. And now you can sell it to someone else. So there's ways to work a lot smarter and not just always be creating something new.
Yes,
yeah. Just because you're working for a client doesn't mean they own everything. And you should structure your agreements so that that's not the case. That's definitely something that I didn't know in the beginning, and something that has really shifted in my understanding.
Oh,
Great.
You're back. Go ahead. You were saying?
Your understanding is
shifted.
There you go. Perfect. Great job.
I'm sorry. I got an internet extender thing so I could be in my office, and it was working before, but clearly it's being a total jerk.
That's
today,
okay. You have
same with my internet. So I'm supposed to have, a good internet connection, but apparently today it messes with me as well. So,
well, I'm glad I'm not alone. I'm so frustrated. I'm like, this is my business. I need freaking internet, people. If I need one thing, it's internet.
That is still going to be on the interview for sure. Don't worry.
I need one thing, it's internet.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us, if somebody wanted to start with licensing, how do they do it? What is the first step to take?
Take our free training.
Oh, what a brilliant segue to that.
I think you need to be building. I think you need to start with a mindset shift and like just understand the industry, because it's totally different than traditional freelance work. And so the first thing you need to do is dive in and understand the industry and understand how you're going to be creating work, generating content, how you're going to be using it as an income stream. Like Katie said, do not quit your full-time job and just like dive into licensing without having some licenses in order, because it is the slowest revenue stream. And so it takes a long time to build up. So it's something we would encourage you to start on the side, start building your portfolio now. Even if you carve out like an hour a week to just start building that portfolio, then slowly over maybe the course of a year, you'll have a really large portfolio, or maybe over 3 months or something, you'll have a large enough portfolio that you could start sending out to buyers. You know, it's never too early to send out to buyers, because they can just like keep you on their radar. And I'd rather, if you're waiting for perfect, you'll be waiting forever. So I would just learn as much as you can about the industry before you get started, so that you know exactly what you need to be doing, and you can set like actual expectations about what it looks like, instead of just like expecting it to be an overnight success, because that's very far from anything we've ever seen based on the way the industry works.
Yes, yes. And funny because a lot of people think that when you double into something, it's going to bring in a lot of money immediately. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that, people.
It doesn't work like that because, as you know, as an author, just like book sales, it takes a really long time to get your book royalties because you spend like a year working on your book and then the book has to go out into the world. And then you need to see like a whole quarter for it to actually like have sales. And then the bookstores have to take the money. Then your publisher has to take the money. So it's the same exact way that it's like an 18-month turnaround sometimes for sales. It could be shorter, maybe 6 to 18 months, but it's not like an online shop where someone buys something and you get paid. Like it has to go through so many people. It has to go through manufacturing. It has to go through selling. And so it's just not fast. And so if you're like looking for quick money, like this is not the stream. This is a stream that you can start working smarter with the current things you're doing and hope to build this up in the background.
Yeah, if I always tell people, if you want to make money fast, don't start with licensing and client work because it's going to take a lot of time to build that up. If you have a skill that you can actually teach and share with others, that is the best route to do first. Start teaching other people what you do because that is going to bring in more money for you and it's more controllable. You don't control when the clients are coming your way. You don't control how many people are going to be interested in your artwork for licensing, but you can control when you want to run a workshop or when you want to start teaching people. You have way more control of that. And that is when you can bring in the bucks. If you
That's
want.
really good advice. And I think a lot of our students are scared to start with teaching because they think they have to be the best
the guru of everything.
And like, the guru of everything. And that's not the case. And like we said, like you spend so much time perfecting your craft and then you start on the business stuff. So you're just sitting on this like wealth of knowledge of something. There's something that you know so much about, or at least a little bit about. At least you're like one step ahead of somebody else and you can turn that around and make that a teaching moment. Or a course or a workshop or a retreat, whatever it is, you have something that you can teach.
Yes. And the beauty of teaching is you also learn when you are teaching. So it's a cycle of
100%.
learning and teaching and learning and teaching.
And I would say I said this earlier, but letting people see while you're in the thick of it, like letting people in on the journey and what you're learning in real time, like share that on TikTok or Instagram Reels or something. Like share what you just learned, how you messed up and how you fixed it and how you learned it, instead of just trying to show up as perfect. Like educate. If you're learning it, then someone else probably needs to learn it too. So just like share it in the process instead of waiting for it to be absolutely perfect. You know, if you found a cool hack on how to ship your boxes with your branded packaging, but it's not expensive, share that because someone else will learn from it too. And you had to learn it. And so I really like the idea of sharing along the journey instead of like trying to show up as this perfectly curated business. And then I think that lets people want to follow. It invites people to join in as your whole journey unfolds instead of just starting as this like established brand. So I would say don't be afraid to share that stuff.
Yes.
You know, something really interesting that applies to that is I did these like floor clings. I designed them for Letter West a couple of years ago, the conference. And then I went to, at Letter West, a workshop with Ken Barber. And he was teaching, or I brought over like a work for critique. And he was like, oh, this G looks all funky. It was like a 2-story G. And I just like duplicated an O and then added the bottom like tail to it. And he was like, no. The like top part of this is like a lot smaller. Yeah. And I was like, oh, whoa. It was like a huge light bulb moment for me. But then I realized on the floor clings, I duplicated the O. So it was like wrong at a lettering conference on the floor, like for everybody to see. And I was so embarrassed. But then I made a post about it on Instagram, a teaching post that was like, did you know that this isn't just a duplicated O, this is smaller? And it became my most liked post with the furthest reach of anything I've ever posted. So that's just proof in the pudding of what Ilana said.
Yes, because vulnerability is part of our brand. When we see and when people see that we are not perfect creatures, they like it. They like it. And because it's more relatable. They can feel like, oh, I'm not the only one making a mess or making a mistake. They are also great people, great business owners, but they make mistakes every single time. So that's normal. And we have to normalize making mistakes because it's part of learning. So we're not really perfect.
Teaching for somebody else, which was verified in I think it reached 100,000 people or something, which is way more than any of my other posts.
That is great. So how many people have related to that? Imagine that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. So this has been such you have shared so much amazing insight with us today. And I know I've overtimed a little bit, but I, for one, learned a lot from you, especially in terms of licensing, because I did not have a lot of experience when it comes to licensing. So it's refreshing to hear all of this information from people who have actually done it and know how it works from the inside out. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. But one final question before I let you go. I'm not going to let you go without asking this. Where can people find you if they want to know more about licensing? Or if you have anything else to share with everybody else, let us know.
We're on Instagram at Loomier.co, and our website is Loomier.co as well. And then from there, you can find both of us, both of our personal pages where we share our work. And one thing we're really loving doing is sharing our student wins over on Loomier on Instagram. And yeah, I think that's it. And then I'm on TikTok, but Katie is too afraid to put her face in front of the camera. I have no shame though.
I'm not afraid. I just have a weird thing about all the dancing. I don't want to be like, dun, 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 dun.
I cannot do that.
But Ilana's great at it.
I have so much to teach you, young one.
That wasn't good?
No. The dancing was great, but there's so much educational content on there. There is so much about running a business. There is so many just talking heads. I have learned so much, not just about running a business, but cleaning hacks and random things I didn't know I needed to know, but now I know, and I'm very thankful for it. So I've been having fun. I just joined over there a couple months ago, and it's been honestly so much fun.
See, that's why I don't like TikTok. It's like the next Pinterest, the next black hole. Yeah. Once you're in, you can never go out. So I'm never leaving. I am parked. I'm at Ilana Griffo over there, but I'm very excited about it. It's so much fun. So yeah, you can find us at Loomier.co, and we have a free Facebook group too for artists who mean business. And it's
all of this you can find if you just go to our main website, and then you'll find the Facebook group. You'll find our free art licensing training, which we talked about. You'll see our Instagram. So I'd just start there.
Yeah, that's a better, more direct way. Yeah, we'd love to meet everyone who listens, and we're so thankful that you had us on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. And if you didn't catch up on all those links, or if you're still wondering what the links are, don't worry. It's all going to be in the show notes. Just head over to mydeleon.com/Loomier, Loomier, and you will find everything you need. So I hope you learned a lot from this episode as well, because I know I did. Okay? And if you like this episode, leave us a review, because every time you do, you help the podcast get discovered by other creatives who need the inspiration to pursue their own creative dreams. And as always, keep creating and stay confident. Until next time, this is Mai.